Most cinematic iterations of Bruce Wayne lean into the billionaire playboy archetype: champagne glasses, high society galas, and performative charm. Matt Reeves' 2022 film removes that mask entirely, presenting a gaunt, isolated figure who struggles to navigate a simple conversation with his own staff. This shift earned him the emo Batman label online, rooted in his visual debt to 90s grunge icons like Kurt Cobain. The pale skin and smeared eye makeup serve as a visual shorthand for clinical trauma. He looks less like a vigilante and more like a patient struggling through a prolonged psychological breakdown. This creates a central tension in the narrative. We have to determine if this Batman is a hero following a moral code, or a man so consumed by grief that his mission has become a primary method of dissociation. Witnessing his parents' murder caused a physiological shift in Bruce's brain. Severe childhood trauma often disrupts the prefrontal cortex, locking the nervous system into a chronic state of hyperarousal, a permanent fight-or-freeze response. To navigate this constant neurological distress, his mind relies on trauma-induced dissociation. The Batman cowl functions as a physical anchor for this state, allowing Bruce to mentally separate his consciousness from the pain of his civilian identity. This behavior mimics an addiction, a high of adrenaline, a release of unregulated rage, avoiding the reality of Bruce Wayne. At this stage in his career, his nightly patrols look less like a focused civic mission and more like an obsessive defense mechanism, a way for him to check out of a world he can no longer process. Bruce's internal isolation manifests as avoidant attachment. He defensively rejects intimacy, treating Alfred with coldness to protect himself from the possibility of another devastating loss. This mirrors the psychoanalytic struggle between the id, our primal aggressive urges, and the superego, representing internalized societal rules. To function, the mind requires a mediator, the ego. This balances opposing drives, preventing the personality from being consumed by raw impulse or impossible moral standards. This is the framework developed by Sigmund Freud to describe how we navigate the pressures of internal desire and external reality. Bruce's ego employs rationalization to maintain his sanity. By reframing violent activities as his family legacy, he creates a logical justification for his dangerous behavior. Within this system, his strict no-kill rule serves as a psychological compromise. It is a line drawn by the ego to keep his aggressive impulses from overwhelming his moral identity. Carl Jung expanded on these ideas with the concept of the shadow, the darker, repressed parts of ourselves that we refuse to acknowledge. The Riddler functions as the literal manifestation of Bruce's shadow. Both share a history of orphanhood and a childhood shaped by the corruption of Gotham. While Bruce tries to channel his trauma into directed vigilantism, the Riddler turns that same pain into terroristic chaos. This academic analysis of the film highlights Bruce's approach-avoidance conflict. When the Riddler claims they are effectively partners, Bruce's ego is forced to confront the hypocrisy of his own mission. Facing his shadow forces Bruce to realize his quest for vengeance hasn't helped the city. It only acts as a symptom of his unresolved trauma. The path toward healing requires sublimation, the process of transforming destructive internal impulses into socially constructive actions. Bruce achieves this psychological shift during the film's climax, when he drops into the flooded waters of Gotham to physically pull trapped citizens to safety. As this study notes, the red flare is the visual marker of his transition. He moves from the id's desire to punish in the shadows to the ego's capacity to lead and protect. This integration is triggered when he pulls a young boy from the wreckage. Seeing his own childhood loss mirrored in the child's eyes breaks his avoidant isolation, forcing him to step out of his protective shell. He finally recognizes that clinging to his grief as an emotional shield was preventing him from being the protector. Clear evolution from reactive violence to emotional maturation. This arc suggests that heroism is not the absence of mental illness, but the arduous, active process of managing it. True healing required Bruce to drop his emotional armor, integrate the darkest parts of his psyche, and choose to become a symbol of hope.